Hey, we're back again.
We're back. It's been so long.
It's been weeks. It's been
many.
We just recorded. We recorded the intro to episode 1 like 2 minutes ago.
But 2 minutes is a stretch. It was like 3 seconds. But hi.
But this episode we had to split into two because it's long and it's so informative and it's so important that we really felt like it deserved to be split into 2 sessions. And so
yes,
this is
if
the
you
intro.
Haven't watched the first episode, go back to the first episode. I think it's really important because I know we're going to hear pointers in this episode, but there's still lots of gems in that first episode that you can't miss.
So if you're watching this right now and you haven't watched episode 1, you need to reach over to the little button. First, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Second, that's more important.
Yeah, that's really important. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, then shut it off and then go to episode 1 of this topic, public speaking, and then come back and watch this. But Victoria was amazing. So many nuggets about public speaking and how it impacts your company, your employees, your customers, how the community sees your business. And I mean, so much good stuff. So we don't have to go through a really long intro. Go back and watch episode 1, and then come back and watch this one.
Be sure to stay to the end of this one. There's a nice deal she's giving for the people that have listened to this podcast. And I think it would, super generous, but also just like so helpful.
Yep.
So be sure to tune into that. And other than that, let's kick it off with Victoria Lioznyansky.
Yes. Wait.
It's like I'm a pro.
We should still thank our sponsors, I think. Let's just do a quick
thanks. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to.
All right, so we'll start off with, let's thank our dear friends at Inktovo. They are our number one supporters. They're very generous and they're very supportive of the Behind the Science community. Go to inktovo.com to learn about all their products, everything and all things production management, online stores, quoting. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So go to inktovo.com to learn about them. But in the sign industry specifically, they have Sign Tracker. So for quoting and project management. And then if you are UK based, they have a great program that they have over there. They provide for UK sign shops and print shops is claritygo.com. So again, go to Inktovo to learn more about all those products.
Yeah. Then as always, thank our friends. Membership matters. Let's thank our friends at International Sign Association. We're big fans. Number 1, if you would. But yeah, it's such a great resource for you. If you are in this industry, it's just really our best resource of education and community.
Yeah.
So, be sure to check it out at signs.org. And if we didn't see you at the expo, we better see you next year.
Yeah. But I will say one thing, Liz, because sometimes people will look at things and they're looking at their budget and, what should I spend my money on, And I'll tell you, being a member of International Sign Association, look, I'm not saying it guarantees your success as a sign shop owner, but man, does it contribute to a lot of your success. Number 1, they're advocates for the industry, for all the different legal challenges that installing signs and all the different things, permitting, but the education, the networking. And if you join, like I know in our case, if you're part of the Texas Sign Association, so if you join your local sign association, it usually automatically gives you membership into the International Sign Association. So if you go to, like Liz said, signs.org, I haven't said signs.com, but signs.org.
No, that's not right.
That's not right. Don't go to signs.com, signs.org. There is a section there that has all their, the links, the affiliate links and all that stuff, to the to the regional, I want to say little, some of them are
not
really
little.
To the regional, associations, and you can, get your information there. But anyway, so enough about all that. So let's get on to, I guess,
episode 2.
Episode 2, exactly.
Victoria Lioznyansky.
Loving your audience, loving your topic. I mean, most of the folks that are in the sign industry are already experts in their topic, right? Whether they build custom fabricated signs or create T-shirts or whatever. So, and then I think the loving yourself part is knowing that you're the person that can do it, that can solve their problem, and being confident in that,
And this is where a lot of people need help, and where a lot of people feel self-conscious, is that no matter how much you know, you always think, well, I don't know everything. Somebody will know more. Imposter syndrome is real. There are people better than me. Loving yourself doesn't mean I'm so full of myself that, I'm the best thing that ever happened to this universe, right? That's not loving yourself. Loving yourself means knowing that you are enough. Your knowledge, your expertise is enough.
Yeah, we, with our team, we always say, ask the questions. Like, don't feel like you have to be the smartest person in the room. That doesn't prove anything. Like, especially with vendors in our industry, people use different terms for the same thing. I learn new stuff every day. Like, I wish I was, exaggerating that, but a vendor will use a word that I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, well, that's not what we call it, but I know what you're talking about. And it's literally just asking the question and not being afraid and not pretending like, yeah, no, I know. And then have no clue what they're talking about. I think that having that confidence to say like, is okay. I think it's almost better because it shows that you're willing to say, hey, I might not know everything, but I'm going to communicate clearly. I want to make sure that everyone understands everything we're talking about.
Yeah. And this is especially important, I think, when you speak to your employees. Having that humility, having empathy. I think this is probably the most important word in terms of employee communication. Yes, you want to be assertive. Yes, you want to have the rules. Yes, you want to be assertive without obviously being aggressive. You don't want to be a bully, but you want to be assertive in the ways that certain things need to be done and they need to be done right. That's where your assertiveness comes in. But you also need to have empathy. Why? So that you understand where everybody comes from. You understand when they're disagreeing. You have enough empathy to understand why. When somebody is in a conflict, you have enough empathy to understand why, to approach them from the empathy perspective, not from I told you so and that's how it's going to be. You're still assertive, but there's a lot of empathy involved. I think as a business owner, it's very, very important.
This topic is so broad. There's so much we could talk about. And obviously an hour's it's not enough. But if there were some practical tips you had for someone who was prepping for a presentation or like calming their nerves before it starts, what are just some practical, like, not tips and tricks. I hate to say that because I know that you don't, nothing's a quick fix, right? It's work. You have to work at it. But what are some practical things that people could do to prep, to help them feel more confident in a presentation or to calm their nerves?
Well, one of the things that comes up a lot, especially in meetings, is you can prepare for a presentation, but then after you present it comes the scariest time. They're asking you questions. And this, where I feel a lot of people really panic because they are afraid that they're going to be asked something and they're going to blank out. And it happens all the time. And so just a few pointers here for those of you who experienced this. I lost my mind. Somebody asked me a question and I forgot my name, right? If you experience this, what I always tell my clients, put a Post-it note on your computer and read it every day. And it's part of loving yourself. There is nothing they can ask me that they don't know. You have to truly understand that the amount of expertise in your mind, the amount of experience is truly tremendous. There is nothing they can ask you that you don't know. And the reason you blank out is not because you don't know, but because when they ask you a question, you go into your head and instead of thinking about the answer, you're thinking about, wait, that answer may not be the best. Oh, they're going to think I don't know anything. Oh, now I'm thinking for 3 seconds. They're probably thinking I'm an idiot. You go into a panic spin. So what I always recommend is, number one, remind yourself there is nothing they can ask me that I don't know. And number two, trust your brain that it will give you the answers because they're there. They're already there. Nobody is asking you things you don't know. If you are a business owner and you're presenting to a client, every question they're going to ask isn't there. So the key here is trust your brain and start speaking.
Yeah, I think it's also, yes, that's completely true. But I think it's also good to remember that it's okay to not know everything. If they ask a question that's specific to their project, right, that you haven't gone that deep in on the details yet, you can say, oh, we absolutely dig into that on this part of the process. We're not there yet, but we can look into getting an answer on that for you if you'd like that sooner. Something like that. Just rehearse.
It is not a crime. In fact, so when I say there is nothing they can ask you that you don't know, it's more about, opinion, thinking, right? But if they ask you literally, how, I don't know, inches is that specific billboard? I don't know, right? Like it's clear. Yeah, we have no clue. So how do you answer that because again, this is where people go like, oh, I don't know. Now they're going to think I'm an idiot, right? Like, no, this is you smile. You say, such a good question. We don't know that yet. However, so you always add a but, and this is where you give them the solution. I don't know this yet. We're going to go and find out, do the survey, whatever. But I am going to get back to you on this when. You don't just say, we're going to get back to you. That feels like, right? You always say, great question. I don't know, but I'm going to get back to you tomorrow by 5 p.m. with the answer. I am going to send you an email by the end of the day today. And you'd better do it. Whenever you give people a deadline however, I don't know, but if you give people a deadline, they're fine. Everybody's fine with it. Nobody's going to think any less of you. And you just have to remind yourself that. But you have to give them a real, concrete deadline when you're going to get back to them, whatever that is. Because then it becomes, oh, great, my question is answered. In their mind, you answered the question and they will get that number, whatever it is. And so that positions you again. This is what it's all about, speaking with authority, right? This is what speaking with authority is about. You position yourself as the leader and the expert.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And remember when and I was just going to say, remember when you're giving that date, right? A, don't make up the answer. And B, when you're giving that date, when you're going to make it realistic, under promise and over deliver, not the other way around.
Remember to always structure it like this. If you structure it like this, you're good. You're in the clear. So that's probably one of the scariest experiences that everybody has is how do we answer those impromptu questions under pressure. But as far as preparing, and again, I'm going to repeat it because this is the most important thing. When you're preparing for a presentation, there is literally nothing you can do to make your brain stop seeing public speaking as a threat unless you actually work through it, unless you work from within and change the way you think, build your confidence. But what you can do is be ready to shift the focus from you to them. So you're looking at your presentation, not just, oh, I have to memorize this and this and this. You're looking at your presentation and you're thinking, how can I present this? How can I say that little segment in a way that benefits them the most? That's all about. If you just start thinking in those terms, what you're going to notice, number one, your presentations are going to be much better. Number two, as you're focused on your client and your client's needs, and when you're focused on how do I speak in a way that it lands the best with them, it really answers their questions, they can see the whole solution and it benefits them. I solve their problem right here with this solution. When you're focused on that, you get out of your head and you stop thinking, I don't know anything. And this is where your body begins to relax, where your heart stops racing, where your palms are no longer sweaty. you're literally changing the way your brain responds, and you stop those fear signals from appearing.
Yeah, absolutely. One way we do that when we're selling or talking about our design. So we're selling the project in essence. We're going from design to fabrication installation, right? There is a sales involved there. I'm not disagreeing with anyone on that.
Elizabeth hates identifying as a salesperson. Just to give you some context, and my opinion is everyone at the company, to a certain extent, sells, right? The company. That's why the message.
But you're not a salesperson.
Well, Elizabeth just doesn't like the label. Don't label her like that. But yes, you sell. You're just not a salesperson.
Thank you, Victoria. I don't like labels. What we say is when you're talking about a design, you don't talk about you liking it, right? It's not about you. I did this color because I like this color. Oh, I think this looks really good. No. What problem does it solve? Why are you using that color? What are you doing with that? What are you communicating to their audience, not yours? And I think that just kind of shifts the focus, not just off of you, but it also enables or disables really the client from saying, well, I don't like it. It's like, because then they're going to have to say, it doesn't solve my problem. And you can say why or how. Versus I just don't like it. So if you say you like it, they can say, I don't. But it's opinion based, it's objective versus subjective. And I think that kind of reframing it in your head just helps you talk about things a little bit easier.
This has been really good. So we always like to close our conversation with folks having this thing called rapid fire questions. Usually they're very related to the sign industry, right? So yours is a little different, but.
Don't ask me anything about sign industry. I'm not in the know. I mean, I know enough where I was a customer of a sign company, but not the other way around.
And you've had a sign guy as a student. So there you go. Yeah. Okay. So basically just a couple of quick questions, but I was thinking about, here you are, you're this expert in public speaking. What is one of the things you wish you didn't learn the hard way now that you're here? Like in your beginning days when you were starting, when you figured out you needed to work on being a public speaker, what's one thing you wish you didn't learn the hard way?
Let me clarify. Is it more like a business owner?
Public speaking related.
I think the hardest thing for me specifically, because I was so afraid that I needed to be perfect. I always felt, and this may have come from seeing, especially in the olden days, how you saw those polished and very perfect speaking people. And it was almost so perfect that it was like that facade was almost too much, right? And but that's kind of how you felt like, oh, I have to put up a show. I have to be this perfect, refined, and absolutely amazing. And I think the biggest lesson of the last 20 years, and I think a lot of people are seeing it now, is that you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to put on a show. You need to be yourself. Best version of yourself. Best version of you, not just, you as you are, like, drinking beer on Saturday night, right? But you as a best version, but you need to be yourself. When you go into those meetings and you're being yourself and you just have a conversation with those clients, when you go into and speak to your employees, you're being yourself and you care, that's when the real connection happens. Connection doesn't happen when you are putting on a show. That's why I'm so much against faking that confidence. Connection happens when you're real and when you care.
Although I will say that 3 beers on a Saturday night makes everybody a public speaker, but
I wouldn't know. I don't drink.
Yeah, those days are gone for me too. Liz and I always like to say that we used up our drink tickets a long time ago, so we don't drink anymore. But
this one we call happy endings. It's a little different for you, but what's one of the biggest victories you've seen a client overcome?
I had a client a while back. She came to me. English wasn't her first language. She was terrified of speaking in public. She comes to me and she goes like, Victoria, I cannot even do a live stream. I cannot speak in meetings at all. I am absolutely terrified. But let me tell you what my dream is. My dream is to become an international speaker.
At least you knew. At least you knew. Yeah. That's great.
I was like, okay, let's make it happen. Well, no, I don't know how to make you an international speaker. Obviously, I'm not, in the business of creating international speakers, but let's make it happen to the point where you feel confident enough to go after that dream. And at the time, she was working for a nonprofit, and we started working together. She was in my program, and she started getting better and better. She gets an award for her presentation in her nonprofit. And I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you, Irina. I'm so proud of you. And then she decides that she wants to write a book. And we actually even had a conversation about her book. I'm not a book writer, but I helped you a little bit with that. She finishes her book. She has a publicity tour with the book. All of a sudden, she's everywhere. Not like she's not a household name, obviously, not big, but she's everywhere in those little circles where her nonprofit is. And then I haven't talked to her in a couple of years. She reaches out to me herself. About a year ago, she reaches out to me and she says, Victoria, I just want to update you on how things are going. I was offered a radio show. And in Spanish, she's natively from Colombia. She said, it's a radio show in Spanish. Every week, I'm going to be doing a radio show. I'm a host. I started my program that was very aligned with that nonprofit that she was in. I started my program. I'm now speaking everywhere, and I'm speaking internationally.
That's amazing.
And I quote her, and it was just so, I felt so good. She said, I'll be grateful to you for my entire life. I didn't make her an international speaker. I didn't write the book for her. She did it all herself. But she had that confidence to speak, which translated into everything that she made happen for herself. And I love that. I think when people realize that I can just be myself and go anywhere and just have a conversation, no matter how many hundreds of people are in front of me, everything changes because now they know they can go after anything. And they will be able to show up no matter where they go as the leader and the expert that they already are.
We usually end, and I think actually you gave me this tip for our shop tours, if you could give one small golden nugget, right, that you could but I feel like you've given so many throughout this whole talk. So it might be hard to pinpoint one last thing if you were just looking at a small business owner and talking to them. But also, I'd like you to kind of end with how folks can get a hold of you. And we chatted a little bit about an introductory offer and program, because I think it's working with you is an investment in your business and in yourself too. So maybe if you were just looking at that small business owner that's struggling and wanting to overcome this fear, and then if you could also please talk about how they can get a hold of you too. So
yeah, absolutely. But let me talk about the one golden nugget first. And yes, I think pretty much everything that we talked about, if you implement this, you're going to be so far ahead of where you are right now in terms of how you feel when you speak. But probably the biggest thing, and I already said it, and I said it multiple times, but again, I just want to repeat it. I don't want you to think that public speaking is this, giant beast. It's just a conversation. And when you overcome your public speaking anxiety, you are able to have that conversation in any room. And from my own experience, growing my businesses and growing my career in the corporate world where I came from, if you are able to have a conversation with, doesn't matter how many people in that giant room, if you can just have a conversation with them and just be yourself and focus on them, you will be able to achieve anything you want, and you will be able to walk out from any room a winner. That is one thing that you have to remember. This is not a talent. I can absolutely be able to do this. It is just a skill that can be learned And public speaking is nothing else but a conversation. That's probably the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this. But I work with my clients in different ways, privately and in a small group coaching program, like I worked with Joe over here. But what I wanted to do, and of course, I'm happy to talk to you about my programs, but what I wanted to offer you was something a lot more targeted and something that I think will help you tremendously, all of you. I'm offering a private one-on-one session for listeners of this podcast, and I called it Confident Communication Intensive for Shop Owners. But really what it is, it's a 90-minute one-on-one conversation on Zoom where we work on one or two, the most pressing, the most challenging communication challenges that you have. We work on one communication area that would make the biggest impact for you personally and for your business. So if you would like to book that, then I created an easy URL for you. It's www.publicspeakingconfidencetraining.com, publicspeakingconfidencetraining.com. If you go there, you will be able to book this intensive. Normally it's $497, but I wanted to give you guys something special here on this podcast. So just for you guys, it is $297. 90-minute session. We work directly with you one-on-one on your specific challenges, and you walk away with concrete steps, concrete solutions, something that you implement immediately at work the next day.
That's great. That'll definitely be in the show notes for sure. But I'm just going to follow that up with, it is well worth the investment. I mean, that's a no-brainer for that price. So Victoria, thank you for offering that to the Behind the Signs community. And if you're a sign shop owner and you've struggled with some of these issues with public speaking and finding your voice and all the things we talked about here, please book a session with Victoria. Well worth the time and money.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you having me here, giving me a chance to talk to your audience. We are all in the same boat. We are all business owners. We're all in the same boat. We all want to prosper and be happy. And I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for the community because it is so hard. And I think everybody agrees with this. It is so hard to be a business owner compared to being an employee. And you guys are out there doing it. And Joe and Elizabeth are out there holding your hand and helping you. And I think this is beautiful. So thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me contribute a little bit to that.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. We appreciate you. Yeah, it's been a great episode, and we will talk soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you.